We will hold 21 CO 107, and while we wait for the Director of Public Works, Madam Clerk, we'll go on to presentation of petitions, memorials, and remonstrances.
21P23, request of Police Chief and Public Safety Director to address the City Council regarding the flock camera system.
Chief, I believe you are Public Safety Director. Gillette. Okay, Chief Oates.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for allowing me to address you on this. As you know, we went back in late August into early September with a trial run with 13 cameras from flock safety. I briefed you folks on that, what our intent or what the plan was. It was a trial period to see what would come out. So I'm back reporting here today. I'm very satisfied with the camera program. During the course of the program, there were 6 individuals arrested with arrested in possession of stolen vehicles. One of those individuals arrested. These are all 6 separate incidents. It was a 14-year-old boy who was a runaway, who was actually in the process of regassing the car up at the Cumberland Farms on South Main Street when we apprehended him after a brief foot chase. But because of locating him and out of the vehicle, there was no car chase involved. Out of those 6 stolen cars, 2 of the individuals in those stolen cars were wanted for other various offenses. We had an arrest for a vehicle that had stolen plates. One of those arrests also, we just happened over this past weekend. We had a chase on the night of December 7th where we spotted the cameras hit that the vehicle was in the city. Officers tried to make a traffic stop. There was a pursuit. The vehicle got away, but Sergeant Martinson was able to ID the operator of the vehicle because Warwick, who had the warrant out for the stolen vehicle, believed they knew the operator, which was a Grundy, individual by the name of Grundy. So we were able to draw an arrest warrant for him. Mr. Grundy was involved in a pursuit again last night. That started in out of the city of Providence, where he allegedly had a firearm and was involved in a firearm incident. That went through multiple communities, and he ultimately blew the 2 tires on the vehicle and was apprehended in Warwick by them. So it's another example of, to the point that these people that are in vehicles, they're doing more than in a stolen vehicle. They're carrying firearms. What was he doing in the city of Woonsocket that night that we chased him out of our city? What was his purpose here? He was here to commit crime, is what he was here for. There's 4 other police departments right now in the state that are using flock. That's us, Cranston, Pawtucket, Gloucester PD, believe it or not, has come on with 2. Tiverton has come on with 2. And I anticipate within the next 30 days, 60 to 70 more cameras from the state police are getting 25 for the highway system. Wolves getting cameras, so is East Providence. And we all share those feeds. So anything that we put in our system or anything that we're looking for, we're able to go back and forth with them. The cameras have been helpful in several various criminal investigations. The cameras are used on a daily basis by the narcotics officers for their investigation and have been very helpful in identifying individuals moving drugs throughout the city during the evening hours and even early morning hours. Internal affairs, even though the model for a best policy is audited once a year, yearly, our internal affairs audits the use of these cameras every 30 days to ensure that anyone using these cameras are in compliance with the policy that we have. Over the last 30 days, the cameras hit on 195,000 vehicles. There were 536 positive hits out of that, which we filtered down to some of them turn out to be not where it's a Rhode Island plate as opposed to a Mass plate that's stolen in that. And in the last 30 days, we did 83 searches. The cost per cameras, as I initially stated, was $2,500 a camera with a one-time $250 installation fee. From speaking with Flock, who the representative had planned on being here tonight with me, but he came in close contact with someone with COVID, so was quarantined as a result. He assured me that if anyone has any further questions or any more questions that I can't answer from the Flock end, I'd be happy to communicate that with them. But they're willing to even waive now, if we continue with this system for the cameras that I have in place, the $250 installation fee. I may move some of those cameras though, because one of the things that Flock did, because we had problems getting electrical hookup, they can do a solar power source, but obviously they weren't going to make a big investment in that if we weren't going to keep the cameras. So if I choose to move some of these cameras, there would be a $250, but anything that I leave in place would be good. What would be good right now. The trial actually did end back in November, but Flock allowed the system and has allowed the system to continue to run at no cost, which is a result of what we just had this weekend. They also have the technology on their camera system in the future if we want a gunshot capability, identifying gunshot sounds. I know ShotSpotter is a very expensive system that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. But their technology and their cameras is going to allow us to potentially expand at that if we wanted to look at what that would be. So, I mean, my overall opinion, and then I'll defer to the director, is I think it's a great public safety tool. It's a force multiplier. I have not heard any negative comment from anyone other than that initial letter from the American Civil Liberties Union who raised the concerns that they sent to you folks. But as I said to you back then, if they had had a legal leg to stand on, they wouldn't be sending you a letter, they'd be sending me a summons to appear in federal court to block the use of the cameras. So I just think for the amount of money involved and just for the short period of time that we've used it, you know, just that 14-year-old gassing that car, what was he gonna do that night? That's just an accident. I mean, even, you know, not that he'd be involved in a serious crime, but potentially hurting himself or hurting someone else. So what do we prevent by that? And then just even all these vehicles, and the last individual that was arrested on Saturday night had assaulted his ex-girlfriend's sister and was in a stolen vehicle and violently fought with us. As a result, he was charged with numerous counts of felony assault on police officers, as well as the offenses related to the stolen vehicle, and he was back in the area of the woman he assaulted, so was he going back to re-assault? So what do we prevent there? So with that being said, I just think that it's a good system, especially for the amount of money. There's no other system like it. They are a sole source vendor. I've emailed you different information that explains that. These other departments that are in the state, they're all going with them. It would not make any sense to jump into my own camera system, even if there was something when I've got 70 other cameras that are in the state, not counting nearby Massachusetts. So I truly support this, and I would like to look for any help that the council may have as far as a funding source until I get into my next budget.
How many cameras do we have in use right now?
13.
And it's, 2,500 a year?
2,500 a year, and that includes all, they come out daily. If there's any problems with the camera, they do all the maintenance, they do all the software updates, they do all the repairs. We're basically leasing the camera. And we can enter into a 1-year contract. I know if we were gonna enter into a multi-year contract, that's gonna need council approval, but for this year, I would say we would go with a 1-year contract and again, look at it. And even with that, if I decide at any point to walk away from it, it's all prorated. So, and I don't see a reason why I would walk away from it, but there is that escape clause.
Okay, are there any questions for the chief from the council?
Council President,
Councilman Ward.
I forwarded to the director a copy of a request for proposals, and it sounds like you're describing the fact that the block people have taken advantage of their opportunity to provide something for free temporarily, and it sounds like 7 communities in the state are going to acquire a long-term contract for a service or product without going to bid. And the claim of the sole source is simply that they are the sole manufacturer and developer of the Flock Safety ALPR camera. Okay, I don't know who else would have made it, but there are other companies out there that do the same thing. And I don't want you necessarily to be using a company that is not feeding off the same database as Flock, but I don't understand why it is that everybody in the state, though we're bound by bid requirements and requests for proposals, as a matter of fact, I'm looking at a screen right now where the state of Tennessee went to bid for such a system, and here's the RFP for it. I have a problem with just buying something without putting it out to find out who the competition is and what they offer to satisfy the needs of the community. And I don't really consider their description of them being a sole source as a sole source, frankly. That's not what a sole source is. A sole source, obviously, yes, Mack Truck is the sole source available for Mack trucks, but not for trucks. Flock is the sole source for the Flock system for ALPR cameras, but they're not the sole provider for that service that goes with the system or the equipment. I also see that in my search, there's at least another dozen locales that have gone out to bid. So I don't necessarily have a problem with what you present, and I don't dispute that they will likely be the best choice. What I have a problem with is simply signing an agreement to acquire a service without looking at the market to see who's out there just because somebody came in and said, here, try mine for free. And I'm sure you're gonna like it, so I'm sure you'll buy it, even though there's somebody else out there that might be doing the same thing. That's what I have a problem with. So I just thought I'd put that out there as we begin this discussion.
Thank you, Councilman Ward. Any other comments from the council?
May I comment to that?
Please, yes.
Well, I wish Flock was here, because they're gonna definitely disagree with your description of their product. Or if you talk to them, or there are things, this is not just simply a license plate reader. If you look at their technology has vehicle descriptions. If you break down the patented vehicle fingerprint technology and that, and you go item for item in their sole, that Flock safety, why they consider them a sole source. I believe from what I'm seeing, I have looked around, not going out and got bids, but I'm not aware of any technology out there that's anywhere near as inexpensive as this. And does what this does. And just for the simple fact, it wouldn't make sense to get something else if 70 other cameras are going up in the state.
Well, that's my problem with this, is Flock has inserted themselves into all these communities by offering things for free. And then once they're in, it's like, well, of course everyone's gonna use it because the other guy's using it. And we don't wanna be using something that the other guy's not using, so let's all use it. So maybe the state purchasing office would say something, why didn't the state go to bid for this? And let the state police coordinate, and then we can all just ride the bid and we'd all be home free. But they did it a different way. They did it the less open way, because they didn't communicate with the council or the people who appropriate money. They contacted you, and they contacted other police departments. They didn't contact city officials and say, I have an idea I'd like to present to you. They said, here, police department, try this for free and we'll show everybody how great it is and you'll buy it. And again, it's not, I don't dispute that they do the job, and they may have proprietary software and capabilities that may be unique to them. I just don't know what else is out there, except that I can see ALPR systems, and I haven't read through all of the RFPs to see what is expected of them, or what is intended for them to be used for. I'm just going by the fact that when you put in ALPR police camera systems and do a search, a whole host of communities across the country come up with RFPs. So, yeah, they may be the best. I'm not disputing that. Matter of fact, the community I sent you the RFP on, they awarded a bid to Flock. But they did get five bids. They didn't get just Flock. So clearly, it's not that unique. It may be unique for some of its features, but it's not unique for ALPR camera systems and whatever it is they do. So I'm glad that you've had a chance to look at it, and I look forward to utilizing systems such as that, because it sounds like it's beneficial. And as you say, it's an enhancement to our ability to do the job without having to have more staff on duty to be able to identify these things and look out for them. It's the same thing as what the council president objects to with speed cameras. Many people object to speed cameras, but the fact is, the only other alternative is to put a car out there with a human being. And that costs money. Cameras don't, not as much anyway. So this is another opportunity, or an opportunity to do something. And as long as the systems are sufficient that individual liberties aren't compromised because of leakage of information or carried over information or renegade employees utilizing information improperly, then we're probably okay with it. And I know that it says that they purge the data every 30 days. So as long as we're sure there's nothing hanging around for somebody to get in trouble with, it could be a very beneficial tool. And I don't object to it. I just have a problem with the method by which we're going about acquiring it, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Canoia. Look, to Council Ward's point, I guess I'm not sure why we wouldn't go out to RFP, and, again, I look at the solicitor here. I thought we always reserve the right to make a decision in an RFP. It's not just, obviously, it's not just price, so, we issue an RFP, we have certain criteria. If Flock, and I have no reason to believe they're not, but if Flock is truly the best one, and provides all the bells and whistles we're looking for, and other intangible, reasons, they can be selected, but I still think it makes sense. I'm not sure why we wouldn't go out to an RFP to at least get some prices and to get some level of comfort. And again, if Flock is what's advertised, it's probably, a foregone conclusion, but we still go through the process.
That's true, Councilman, if you're looking at me, the charter says that we don't have to pick the lowest bid.
Right.
So it's always.
But it also says for something of this size, we have to go out to RFP.
Yeah.
And it's also, I hear what the chief is saying, and I get where he's coming from, but we are kind of boxed in by the charter, that we do have to go out to an RFP for anything over $5,000. And this is, yeah. I don't want to belabor it and have this go longer than necessary, but if they're willing to work with us and they're eager for us to sign up, and they're as good as they say, I don't know how long it takes to put together an RFP, get it out, get the responses, but I can't imagine it's more than.
Add something.
Sure.
So, just in defense of the chief, and I know I don't have to defend him, but, we get solicitations all the time for all types of technology. He is like, no.
Yeah.
But, just as far as the RFP, if we could do something under 5,000 to keep these systems going and then go to RFP, maybe an 8-month program or what have you, I can't see them having to take down these cameras and then, reinstall them, so.
I'm just asking them to give us another 4 or 5 weeks to go through the process, but obviously that's up to them. I wouldn't, if there's a creative way of doing something on an interim basis, so that it gives us the time and space necessary to do the RFP, I'm all ears, but, and again, like you said, you're not to defend the chief. I know exactly where he's coming from. I don't disagree with anything he has said, except that we do have this provision that requires us to go out to RFP. And I don't know how to get around that.
So, what about, I just wanna add to, there's 13 cameras, they're 2,500 a camera, so it's roughly, what, 2,800 a month? Could we do a 1-month payment to keep everything as it is, but then give us a month to do the RFP?
I can certainly try. They've been extremely, it's just, I'm kind of taken back because they have not had this problem in any other community. And I'm sure all the other communities, including the state, has
make up the words with all
agreement with this. When it's sole technology, a sole source technology, it's not uncommon not to go out to bid, not go out to bid. If no one else has the technology and that's their claim, and they would have been more than happy to explain they're in 1,400 cities. Some of them I'm sure they have, maybe gone out to bid, but they won. But for a number of reasons, they've just been very good with us. Like I said, the pilot program ended in November. They said no, we'll keep it up and running. There's 13 cameras that are in place right now that are up and running. They were effective over this weekend right now. And if like the director said, I get sales pitches all the time. So it's not someone coming in saying, hey, you know, this is a good deal for you, and a backdoor way in. No, we're the sole technology of this. This is state of the art. No one else has this. No one else has the gunshot thing. So when you put out license plate readers, there's been license plate readers since back in the 1980s that are quote license plate readers. This system is a lot more than that. Just the software to be able to retrieve it, the search value to be able to do the investigative stuff with it. None of these other companies have that. That's why they're the sole source. So, I mean, if we go out to bid, in a lot of ways, I just feel, to be honest with you, I'm wasting my time, because I know that nobody has this technology.
So, between Director Chamberlain and Solicitor DeSimone, how do we proceed financially and how do we proceed legally?
Well, and legally, I understand what the chief is saying, and I feel for what he's saying, but unfortunately, the charter, every city and town has their own charter sheet. Our charter is, pretty specific. Any purchase over 5,000 has to go up to competitive bid. So we don't really have a choice. We never don't do it.
I think we do.
Well, I don't know if we do, I don't know.
No, Chris, do? On some lines? No?
Well,
If it's sold?
right, there's a couple of vendors that they consider sole source. If a director writes a letter and says it's a sole source vendor, but
Who makes the determination that it's sole source?
the director,
What
being the person,
director of what?
whatever director, that the director that's making the purchase.
Oh, in the city director?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know if you meant the director for the company.
Oh, no,
Okay.
but they're few and far between.
Well, listen, we don't have anything on the agenda tonight to vote on.
Yeah, there's no vote.
So, Chief, can you talk to them, see what they've got to say, and Solicitor, if it's gotta come back to us either way, especially if, we're looking to do interim financing for, to get to the budget that's coming up. Can you try and come to some resolution? If we have to go to RFP, then, Director Chamberlain, if you can facilitate an RFP, and, they're probably gonna win based on what Councilman Ward has said and based on the exclusivity that you've identified. It sounds like they're gonna win the bid anyways, but I think that it might be practical to go through that. The one thing that I would like to say, on the record, and we got kind of off, but, I was not supportive of this at all in the beginning. I made it clear that I didn't believe in, plate readers in the city. But I did think it was more of a traffic type of plate reading information, or, speed cameras, traffic, stoplight cameras and stuff. I still am adamantly opposed to that type of, traffic law enforcement, but this clearly is something different in nature, so, I have grown to accept it, and I think it obviously seems like the good far outweighs any problems. But I want it to be clear right now that I still do not support traffic cameras of any sort. So, I hope you don't come back with that.
That won't happen.
Thank you. So, can the 3 or 4 of you discuss this, and then, let's get to a good place. Either way, we've got to act on it, not tonight. All right? All set? Any other comments, questions for the chief before we let him go? Chief, I'm gonna ask that you stay for 1 more minute, and, then I'll
Dismiss me.
dismiss you, yes.